collaboration with the Postgraduate Institute of Management. ICBM 2026 marks the 22nd consecutive edition celebrating excellence in social science research. This conference provides a dynamic platform for both national and international researchers and practitioners, fostering the collaboration to enhance the body of knowledge and contribute to societal well-being. This year's theme, Inclusive and Responsible Management for a Circular Economy and Digital Future, reflects the growing urgency to rethink how organizations use resources and digital technologies to build sustainable, low-waste, and socially just business models for the years ahead. ICBM 2026 introduces a Research Week, an expanded program running from February 16th to 20th, featuring an array of activities to enhance both research and practice. This year, the ICBM Research Week comprises a series of events including the Undergraduate Research Day, the main conference, which is conducted as a discipline-based mini-conferences, the PhD Colloquium, the PIM Annual Research Conference, and the Business Forum. In addition to that, ICBM 2026 has successfully conducted the Higher Degree by Research HDR pitching competition and 3 pre-conference workshops designed to strengthen research capacity, scholarly engagement, and networking opportunities. The keynote speech at the main conference of ICBM 2026 is delivered by Professor Subhash Abhivansa, Professor of Accounting and Chair of Sustainability and Innovation Research Group, Swinburne University of Technology, Australia. The Business Forum of ICBM serves as a unique platform for industry leaders and academia to come together and address timely, practical issues aligned with this year's theme, Sri Lanka's Surge into the Circular Economy. The best papers from ICBM will have several publication opportunities, including consideration for a special issue in the Sustainability Accounting, Management and Policy Journal, a Scopus Indexed Q1 journal under the theme Accounting, Reporting, Assurance and Governance for Circular Economy, Rethinking for a Sustainable Development. Join us as we continue to push boundaries, inspire change, and shape the future of business and management research.
Good evening to our respected academics, distinguished professionals from industry, inspiring leaders, ladies and gentlemen. It is indeed a privilege to welcome you as we convene for the Business Forum of the 22nd International Conference on Business Management 2026, hosted by the Faculty of Management Studies and Commerce of University of Sri Jayewardenepura in collaboration with the Postgraduate Institute of Management, University of Sri Jayewardenepura. We are especially proud to note that this marks the second consecutive year of this valued collaboration, reflecting our shared commitment to strengthening the bridge between the academia and industry and to advancing impactful business scholarship together.
When it comes to the planet, there cannot be a plan B, simply since there is only a planet A. Based on this reality, ladies and gentlemen, this year's forum is anchored on the theme Sri Lanka's surge into the circular economy. It offers a vibrant platform for meaningful dialogue, forward-looking insights, and collaborative knowledge exchange aimed at advancing sustainable business practices within an increasingly interconnected world. As we gather this evening, we enter a space shaped by reflection and foresight, guided by distinguished voices from both academia and the industry. Their wealth of experience, dedication to responsible leadership, and an impactful contributions to scholarship and practice will undoubtedly spark thoughtful conversations and inspire purposeful action towards a more sustainable future. Devni?
Indeed, Tharindo. Before we step into the highlights of this evening, let me briefly take you through the remarkable journey of ICBM 2026, a week that brought together scholars, academics, researchers, and industry leaders in a powerful celebration of knowledge and impact. Our journey commenced on 16th February 2026 with the Undergraduate Research Day, marking the beginning of an enriching research week. The keynote address was delivered by the Senior Professor Rangika Halwatura from the University of Moratuwa, whose inspiring insights set a powerful and forward-looking tone for the days that followed. On 17th February 2026, we proudly inaugurated the main conference of ICBM 2026 with the keynote address delivered by the Professor Subhash Abhayawansa from Swinburne University of Technology, Australia. His insights enriched the academic disclosure and elevated the intellectual momentum of the conference. In addition, we successfully conducted 10 discipline-based mini-conferences, creating vibrant spaces where academics, industry professionals, researchers, and practitioners came together. These sessions fostered meaningful dialogue, interdisciplinary collaboration, and valuable knowledge exchange across diverse fields of business and management. Moving to 18th February 2026, the spotlight turned to emerging scholars at the PhD Colloquium, featuring Professor Subhash Abhayawansa as the keynote speaker. On 19th February 2026, the momentum carried forward with the PIM Annual Research Conference, PIMAC, held at the Postgraduate Institute of Management, further deepening the research dialogue and reinforcing our collective commitment to scholarly excellence. And this evening, we arrive at the great culmination of ICBM 2026 Research Week. The Business Forum centered on the theme, Sri Lanka's surge into circular economy. From the curiosity of undergraduate inquiry to the depth of doctoral scholarship, from rigorous academic debate to purposeful industry engagement, this week has unfolded as a seamless journey of ideas, and it has embodied the true spirit of inclusive and responsible management, aligning seamlessly with the broader vision of ICBM 2026, advancing a circular economy within an increasingly digital and interconnected future.
Ladies and gentlemen, as you can see, this evening is not just about talking. It's a gathering, a conclave of people who have walked the talk, who shall and will inspire many more sustainable journeys into the future. With that, to begin this evening's proceedings, we now invite everyone to rise for the University Anthem of the University of Sri Jayewardenepura, followed by the Anthem of the Postgraduate Institute of Management. Please rise.
ලංකා පින්වර රන් දෙරණේ ශ්‍රීනිවාස වූ මහ අගනගරේ ශ්‍රී ජයවර්ධනපුර සරසවියේ ශ්‍රී නාමය රඳවම් ලෝමුදුනේ දික්කඩුවේ සිරි සුමගුල් සමිඳුන් කල විද්‍යෝදය විදුබිමලුන් එලියෙන් දිවි මග සරසව් ශ්‍රී ලංකා පින්වර රන් දෙරණේ ශ්‍රීනිවාස වූ මහ අගනගරේ ශ්‍රී ජයවර්ධනපුර සරසවියේ ශ්‍රී නාමය රඳවම් අයුක්තියේදී විවාදශීලී
අසත්‍යයේදී විචාරශීලී
පියත් සභාමෙත සමාජශීලී පියතුන් දීදය පොබයව් ශ්‍රී ලංකා පින්වර රන් දෙරණේ ශ්‍රීනිවාස වූ මහ අගනගරේ ජයවර්ධනපුර සරසවියේ ශ්‍රී නාමය රඳවම් ලෝමුදුනේ විද්‍යා උපතතං සෙත්තා විද්‍යා උපතතං සෙත්තා විද්‍යා උපතතං සෙත්තා ජයවර්ධනපුර විදුජය සරසවි පද්ම තටාකේ විකසිත පියුම ඔබයි පින්වර අප විද්‍යා භූමි කිතු ගොස දස දෙස වීලා පොරණේවා ජය දත වන්නා පින්වර අප විද්‍යා භූමි විදුජය සරසල් පද්ම තටාකේ විකසිත පියුම ඔබයි පින්වර අප විද්‍යා භූමි සලසන නව්‍ය තාක්ෂණ විදුරුවන් කිරණ නොමින් පෙරාගෙන දියුණුව සලසන නව්‍ය තාක්ෂණ විදුරුවන් කිරණ නොමින් පෙරාගෙන මානව සමගුණ නිසි ලෙස යොදවන
කලමනා කරන විදුනැන වඩවන
සවිවරමින් නැනගුණ රන්දන ජය මග පාදන නියමුදිකේතන සවිවරමින් නැනගුණ රන්දන ජය මග පාදන නියමුදිකේතන සිරිලක සිරිසර මල්පල ගන්වන
විදුබිම නන්දන කරනෙමු වන්දන
ජයවර්ධනපුර විදුජය සරසවි පද්ම තටාකේ විකසිත පියුම ඔබයි පින්වර අප විද්‍යා භූමි විදුග කොස දස දෙස වීරා ගොරදේවා ජය දත බන්නා පින්බර අප වෙත් යාපුවේ.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. As we assemble for this distinguished occasion, we are privileged to be in the company of visionary leaders, distinguished academics, and accomplished industry professionals. To graciously set the stage for this evening's business forum and guide us into the proceedings, it's my pleasure to invite Dr. Sepali Bamunasinghe, the co-chair of ICBM 2026, to deliver the welcome speech.
Let's give a big round of applause, ladies and gentlemen.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. As co-chairs of the 22nd International Conference on Business Management, ICBM 2026, it is our privilege to warmly welcome you to this Business Forum of ICBM Research Week 2026, organized by the Faculty of Management Studies and Commerce, University of Sri Jayewardenepura. We warmly welcome our anchor speaker for this forum, Honorable Dr. Harshana Surya Peruma, Secretary to the Ministry of Finance, and Senior Professor Padmala Lemmanage, Vice Chancellor of the University of Sri Jayewardenepura. We also extend our warm welcome to our distinguished industry panelists, Ms. Shia Wickramasinghe, Group Managing Director, CBL Group, Mr. Supun Veerasinghe, Director, Group Chief Executive Officer, Dialogue Asiata PLC, and Mr. Hasitha Premaratne, Managing Director, Brandix Lanka Private Limited. We are further honored by the presence of Professor Dushan Jayavikrama, Dean of the Faculty of Management Studies and Commerce, Dr. Asanga Ranasinghe, Director of the Postgraduate Institute of Management, esteemed academics of the University of Sri Jayewardenepura and the Postgraduate Institute of Management, and all distinguished participants. Your presence greatly enriches this occasion. The University of Sri Jayewardenepura stands as one of the largest and leading universities in the country, comprising 11 faculties. Among them, the Faculty of Management Studies and Commerce has played a pioneering role in advancing business education in Sri Lanka. For more than 2 decades, ICBM has served as a key platform for scholarly and professional engagement, reflecting the faculty's continued academic strength and relevance. We are also pleased to highlight the strong collaboration between the Faculty of Management Studies and Commerce and the Postgraduate Institute of Management. Together, as 2 premier business education institutions in the country, we bring forward this forum as a space for meaningful dialogue between academia and industry. The discussions today draw from the research insights, case study development, and scholarly deliberations presented throughout ICBM Research Week. The academic effort invested in these research initiatives now reaches the wider corporate and professional community through this forum, including forthcoming case study-based publications that capture key research implications. At forums such as ICBM, our engagement with industry goes beyond discussion. We undertake collaborative research and develop case studies with industry partners, offering our research expertise to support organizational and national initiatives. These engagements represent important outcomes of conferences of this nature, and we warmly invite the corporate sector to continue partnering with us in advancing research-driven practice and meaningful industry-academia collaboration. We warmly welcome you all and look forward to a productive and insightful discussion. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Madam. And now, we are delighted to share that last year's teaching case study book of ICBM 2025 has been officially accepted for publication by Nova Publications. It's with great pride that we celebrate this achievement as a significant milestone of our academic community. Ladies and gentlemen, with that, a highlight of this evening will be the launch of our case study books. This year, we are proud to launch the ICBM case study book, which includes 11 case studies developed as a collaborative effort between the academic members from the Faculty of Management Studies and Commerce and the Postgraduate Institute of Management of University of Sri Jayewardenepura. These case studies that strongly align with our ICBM main theme, inclusive and responsible management for a circular economy and digital future. Let's now direct our attention to the ICBM Case Study Video 2026 and explore the insights it has to offer.
The theme of the 22nd International Conference on Business Management, Inclusive and Responsible Management for a Circular and Digital Future, reflects our commitment to shaping sustainable and future-ready organizations. In line with this vision, we partnered with 11 leading companies to develop 11 insightful case studies that showcase real-world strategies, challenges, and innovations. We are proud to present the 11 official case studies of ICBM 2026. Smart Waste, Clean City. The digital transformation of waste management in Kaduwela Municipal Council. A case study on inclusive data-driven urban sanitation and circular economy practices in Sri Lanka. Towards a consensus on the circular economy, agricultural startups' visions of a sustainable business model. Implementing green and circular practices in the hospitality industry. Case of Parua Nature Resort. From local roots to global markets, women's leadership, circular economy practices, and inclusive growth at Four Cons Canneries. Reducing e-waste through community-level digital literacy campaigns in Sri Lanka. A research case study of the National Electronic Waste Collection Program. Data-driven water and energy management with reference to Dialogue Asiata PLC. Expanding capabilities through inclusive digital education. A case study of the target program for persons with disabilities in post-pandemic Sri Lanka. Maintenance governance in vertical housing. Ensuring long-term sustainability. A case study of Havelock City, Colombo 7. Sri Lanka Telecom, leadership, governance and sustainable reinvention in a dual crisis. Roots of Growth, the blend of planet, people and profit by the Barnhouse. Brewing Success, a homegrown coffee brand's journey in Sri Lanka.
Let's give a big round of applause, ladies and gentlemen, recognizing the fantastic efforts that have gone into that wonderful collection of case studies. And with that, in order to officially launch the ICBM Case Study Book 2026, I cordially invite Senior Professor Padmalal M. Manage, Vice Chancellor of the University of Sri Jayewardenepura, Professor Dushan Jayavikrama, Dean of the Faculty of Management Studies and Commerce of the University of Sri Jayewardenepura, Dr. Asanga Ranasinghe, Director of the Postgraduate Institute of Management, and Dr. Isuru Manavadu and Dr. Sepalika Bamrusinghe, the co-chairs of ICBM 2026 on stage. Ladies and gentlemen, alongside this evening, we also saw that the University of Sri Jayewardenepura's PIM, Postgraduate Institute of Management, collaborative ICBM case study book. We are also proud to present the PIM Teaching Case Study Book 2026. This case study book is organized under 3 thematic categories: sustainability, governance and leadership, and quality, service and operational excellence, reflecting the core pillars of responsible and future-ready organizations. Ladies and gentlemen, the Teaching Case Study Book was launched yesterday at the PIM Annual Research Conference inauguration ceremony held at PIM yesterday.
DNA of PIM, the rigor of social and applied research projects offered to learning partners through the MBA curriculum has shaped PIM's identity as the business school for the new world. PIM research fosters a strong climate of support for research projects and case studies, disseminating knowledge through magazines, research journals, conference papers, case studies, and its flagship journal, the Sri Lankan Journal of Management. The Sri Lankan Journal of Management, initiated in 1996, is the oldest management research journal in Sri Lanka, now in its 31st volume and internationally accessible through the EBSCO host database. The biannual professional manager addresses issues relevant to practicing managers. In 2021, PIM published a collection of 10 management case studies. Continuing this effort, PIM now launches the PIM Teaching Cases 2026 at PIMA 2026, featuring 11 cases that narrate organizational success stories. This edited volume has been meticulously curated by Dr. Asanga Ranasinghe, Dr. Ananda Jayawardena, Dr. Sakuntala Durairatnam, and Dr. Sujiva Damayanti. The sustainability pillar has 4 cases. The first is titled, A Place to Belong, A Space to Be Different, the story of one JKH. The author of this case is Ms. Getsia Michelle Jnanapragasam. The second case, Guardians of the Ocean, a social ecological approach to Sri Lanka Turtle Conservation Project, authored by Mr. H.S. Seneviratna. The third case is From Paper to Digitalization, the EHRM Journey of Yukon Software by Ms. Lakshmi Chanusha Lianage. The fourth case titled Building Hope Beyond Infrastructure, Arinma Holdings' Journey of Balancing Profit with Purpose has been authored by Ms. Sandunika Watearache. The Governance and Leadership segment has 4 cases. The case is on Leading the Change That Leads the Market, the story of LOLC Finance PLC, and the author is Ms. Imagini Selvaraja. The case of Leveraging Leadership for Business Growth, the MediHelp Transformation, has been crafted by Ms. Nimesha Jayamanna. The next case is titled Transform to Excel, Transformational Leadership and Service Quality for Performance Success of Aseka Corporate Consultants Pvt Limited, and the author is Ms. Basna Godage Hiroshi Shalini. The fourth case in the leadership segment is on Beyond the Shores, Sustained Business Growth Through Entrepreneurial Mindset, the case of Danusha Marine, authored by Mr. Lucky Sylvester Gamage. The next segment brings together cases on quality service and operational excellence. The case on Baked with Purpose, Thinesh Bakehouse's Journey to Quality Excellence is authored by Ms. Sajini Selvaraja. The next case is on the human blueprint of lean transformation, turning people into performance. The author of this case is Ms. BMSG De Silva. The case titled The Sarvodaya Paradox, Balancing Purpose and Profit in a Crisis has been crafted by Mr. Ratnasingham Indirajitan. These 11 case studies narrate success stories of organizations in a very appealing and captivating style, linking with rich management concepts in diverse domains. These teaching case studies, complete with teaching notes and instructions, add immense value in teaching graduate level and postgraduate level curriculum.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, we would like to invite Dr. Asanga Ranasinghe, Director of the Postgraduate Institute of Management, Dr. Sakuntala Durai Ratnam, Senior Management Consultant at the Postgraduate Institute of Management, to come forward in order to have a photograph with the Vice Chancellor of the University of Sri Jayewardenepura, Senior Professor Padmanal Manage, and the Dean of the Faculty of Management Studies and Commerce of the University of Sri Jayewardenepura, Dushan Jayavikrama. We also take a moment to recognize the contributions from Dr. Ananda Jayawardena, Senior Management Consultant at PIM, and Dr. Sujiva Damayanti, Head of the Department of Accounting from the Faculty of Management and Finance from the University of Colombo, towards the case studies. Ladies and gentlemen, it is now time to move on to one of the most anticipated segments of the ICBM Business Forum 2026, the anchor speech and the panel discussion. The segment will offer valuable insights into Sri Lanka's transition towards a circular economy and the strategic shifts shaping a more sustainable and resilient future. Before we begin, let us set the prologue to the ICBM Business Forum 2026 by reflecting on our theme, Sri Lanka's surge into a circular economy.
And now it's my pleasure to invite a distinguished academic and a prolific researcher in the field of sustainability, Dr. Nuwan Gunaratna. Dr. Nuwan Gunaratna is a senior lecturer in the Department of Accounting at the University of Sri Jayewardenepura, Sri Lanka. He earned his doctorate in corporate sustainability and sustainability accounting from Griffith University, Australia. With more than 120 national and international publications spanning sustainability, accounting education, and the circular economy, Dr. Gunaratna's scholarly contributions are widely recognized. Most notably, he has recently been listed among the world's top 2% of scientists, a remarkable recognition of his global research impact and academic excellence. Ladies and gentlemen, it's my great honor and privilege to invite Dr. Nuwan Gunaratne to deliver the prologue of the Business Forum 2026.
Dr. Nuwan Gunaratne, ladies and gentlemen, let's give a big round of applause.
Can I have the slides, please? All right. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, as a country, we have been able to overcome many of the challenges that we faced recently. Say it's tsunami, or it's the East attack, the economic crisis, or even the recent cyclone Ditwa. So as a country, we have recovered from these crises. But we have gathered here today to discuss one important question. That is, are we going to rebuild our country in the same way that we had before? Or are we going to redesign it in a different way than we had? So, ladies and gentlemen, my argument here is simple. We have to move beyond recovery. We have to move towards regeneration. That's where circular capabilities will be important. Yes. We know that Sri Lanka is at a strategic turning point. So we are recovering, we are redesigning towards resilience. So the question here is, what is the kind of growth that we want to institutionalize? Is it the fragile economic model that's resource intensive, that is energy intensive, and that's the linear economic model that we have followed? So do we want to move in that direction, or do we need to go for something different? So that's the question that we are having. Well, we know that the traditional economy, or even the Sri Lankan economy, is built on this traditional linear economic model, which is based on the principles of take, make, and dispose. So we take raw material, we import raw materials, or we extract raw materials from the natural environment, creating environmental damages, and then we produce them. We use energy and the resources, and thereafter, after usage, we dispose them, creating another environmental impact. So this is the linear economic model that we have been following, and we are still dependent. And as opposed to this, we have the circular economy model. Now, this is where the economy is built on design, use, recovery, and regenerate principles. So we don't have waste, because waste is going to be someone else's raw material. So we have waste is converted into assets. Then there's no disposal, but we have recovery, reuse, and remanufacturing. And then from dependence, we are moving to resilience. So this is the circular economy model that we want to pursue. So that the circular economy is built on three principles. According to Ellen MacArthur Foundation, circular economy designs waste and pollution out of production, so that we don't manage waste at the end of the production line, they are eliminated. Then there is second principle is that to keep products and materials in use for a longer time period through recycling, reusing, or remanufacturing. And the third principle is to regenerate the natural systems, so that the circular economy restores and regenerates the economic or natural environment rather than depleting it. So when organizations follow circular economy principles, they usually adopt circular economy business strategies. So there are 5 business strategies ranging from circular inputs to resource recovery. Firstly, circular inputs, using renewable or recyclable materials in your production process. Then there is sharing economy, using underutilized assets. Then product as service. So that's, you are not selling products, but you are selling the services. We know that companies like Philips, famous for bulb manufacturing. So they are no longer selling bulbs, but they are selling the lighting service. So that is products as services. And next, there is product use extension. So you are extending the product use through repairability, modularity, and other features. And classic example is Patagonia. And finally, there is resource recovery. You are recovering resources as well as energies, and you reintroduce them into the production process. So these are the 5 business models that are there. And I'm sure that during the panel discussion, our speakers will unearth these practices they are following in the industries. Then, why circularity now? This is the question. This is what's important. Well, I find 3 pressures. One is the fiscal pressure. We know that IMF supported reforms. Now, for them, we need, they are not optional. They are mandatory. They are structural. Then there is export competitiveness. We know that the global buyers need ESG performance, they need transparency, and they need decarbonization because they are following, scope 3 emissions, so that as suppliers, now we have to reduce our greenhouse gas emissions in the value chain. Then there is resource constraints. So as a country, we are heavily import dependent on raw materials, then energies, then industrial inputs. So that if there is any inefficiency in the system, that will improve or that will increase our dependence. So every plastic bag that we throw away, every extra liter of petrol that we burn to get a cigarette or a tea, or every light that we switch on, or every light that we don't switch off, will increase our dependence. Now, this is where I propose this circular capability ecosystem, which is built on 4 pillars. So at the core, we have the circular economy, and there is economic policy, enterprise transformation, digital enablement, and education. So I would like to call this as 4 E's. So there is economy, then there is enterprise, then there is enablement, and education. So these are the 4 E's of this model. So let me quickly take you through these components. The first E is the economic policy architecture. So this shapes the incentives and the constraints. So there should be fiscal reforms, then tax incentives, then sustainable procurement, then EPR. We know that EPR in the country has been in the pipeline for several years, but not yet implemented. Then disclosure requirements and so forth. Then comes the next E, the transformation, enterprise transformation. Well, this is where circularity is operationalized by companies. So there should be renewable energies, product life cycle extension, reporting practices, and so forth, all what we discussed under business model strategies. And the next E is the digital enablement. So we know that circular economy is digitally enabled. So there should be, so this will facilitate traceability, then again ESG matrices, and reverse supply chain coordination. And finally, there is the base of the model, the education and the knowledge systems. So that this should include, this actually includes educational curricula ranging from school to universities, then again technical and vocational training, then executive education, especially in terms of executive management education. I'm sure that PM can play a great role here. And then we have public awareness and consumer awareness, because ultimately every citizen, every consumer will have to play a role in circular economy. I'm sure that these words will echo in your mind when you go for the dinner today, because every waste that we generate will increase our dependence. Then the research innovation ecosystem. So ladies and gentlemen, so we understand that circularity is systemic. So no single player can convert a linear ecosystem into a circular economy. So it requires collaboration. So that's where the forum becomes important. This forum becomes important because we have policymakers, we have educators, then we have business professionals, and we have the ecosystem enablers here. So I'm sure that when we deliberate on this, we will have more insights to learn on what they do in the industries. So, ladies and gentlemen, the final question that we have is not whether Sri Lanka can afford circularity, but it's whether we can afford not to build it now. Thank you very much.
From linear to circular, it's time to redesign for resilience, and the time is now. Thank you very much, Dr. Nuwan Gunratna, for your insightful prologue. Now we are moving on to another important item of the segment, which is the anchor speech. For that, we'd be honored to invite Honorable Dr. Harshana Surya Peruma, Secretary to the Ministry of Finance, Planning and Economic Development. Honorable Dr. Surya Peruma is a fellow member of SEMA UK and holds an MBA from the Postgraduate Institute of Management and a PhD in Business Networking and Performance. He has held several distinguished leadership roles across both the corporate and public sectors, including senior positions at the Securities and Exchange Commission of Sri Lanka, as well as serving as the Deputy Minister of Finance. Currently serving as the Secretary to the Treasury, he plays a pivotal role in shaping Sri Lanka's fiscal and economic policy framework. His address this evening will set the strategic and policy tone for Sri Lanka's transition towards a circular economy. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Honorable Dr. Surya Peruma on stage.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is Honorable Dr. Harshana Surya Peruma on stage.
Very good evening to all of you all. Such a pleasure and a privilege for me to be here with you all today, particularly the pinnacle of some of y'all's engagements that is to be showcased during the day, and at the same time, leadership, advisory, guidance from the VC and the team, and the rest of the team members who have guided you all to get into this position today. My task is to give you a flavor from an economic perspective as to where we are heading as a nation and where are we today. It is very interesting when I look back my time at the University of Sri Jayewardenepura. I did accountancy, but I was there only for a shorter period. And I did my MBA at PIM. Life is a journey with a lot of challenges right throughout. What is more important in today's context, it is the way how it is changing. Let it be geopolitical dynamics, the global tariff landscape, or whether there are natural disasters that forces us to think differently in navigating ourselves. For Sri Lanka, we had added challenges, additional challenges. I noted in the previous presentation as well, several of them were showcased. Whether it is the time of tsunami, the 2019 attacks, subsequent economic calamity, and Ditwa. Yet, we have proven to the world that we are a resilient nation. An important dynamic in this journey is within a short period of time in 2022, from a bankrupt country, a country forced to be bankrupt, and how we have come to today in this position. Post-Ditwa, we wanted 500 billion extra funding for 2026. Yet, we were able to produce an additional budget without borrowing a single rupee. What does this mean? That is the financial discipline that the new administration has brought into the system. It is the zero tolerance for corruption that we have put into action. It is no one is above law that we have practiced, this has given confidence to the world and the partners with whom we are working with. We restructured our debt, and the yield or the rates that were trading at the secondary markets were much, much higher than what it is now. The T-bill rates, the bond rates, were much higher than what it is closed last week or this week, Wednesday. The difference is the premium one pays for the risk that they take. As far as Sri Lanka is concerned, it is the risk relating to economic stability, risk relating to political stability, risk relating to social stability. The way the country was governed under the present administration has reduced this risk premium, which allows businesses to engage, investors to come back to Sri Lanka and continue expanding on what they do. What we want for businesses to be bigger, better, and more profitable, which allows the Treasury to collect more revenue. But if you look at the way how we generated our revenue during last year, inland revenue, customs, and excise department, historically highest numbers, achieving more than 100% of what they were supposed to deliver. We use the same people, we use the same systems, but it's boiling down to the implementation. The type of leadership, the following up, and once again, as I mentioned, the principle on which we govern. What was the outcome? Continuously, it was generating month after month, exceeding the targets. This shows it is not an accident, it is structural. Those structural engagements, the results and achievements were backed by the reforms that the government has undertaken. Let it be the reforms relating to the SOE structure. Let it be it is the governance structure applicable, the way how the country deals with corruption, based on the mandate given by the people. Many other engagements of that nature. The confidence that we gave to our bilateral partners, multilateral partners, and many other stakeholders with whom we are dealing with. But the most important part is the trust, the way the confidence we were able to instill among people. Because the tax, what we collect as the government, is the tax that you pay as citizens. We were able to demonstrate that every rupee that you pay is put into good use. People who were not paying taxes came forward and started paying taxes. People who were paying low taxes started paying higher taxes, because we were able to demonstrate as the government, as state officials, that your money will not go to waste. That it is a new conversation. And it is beyond statements, it is beyond statements anymore. People wanted tangible results. I'll give few examples to showcase how we delivered the promise. Because for us to continue this journey and to grow this economy from where it is from a 100 billion economy to a 200 billion economy, it is not a question of when, it is how many years we are going to take. The example that I want to share with you, I'm sure many of you all are aware, particularly the business community, that inland revenue was famous for collecting money, but at the same time for not giving any refunds back to businesses or to citizens. When we removed the SWAT system in 2025, October, we had several challenges. There were forums criticizing the decision of the government to do so, saying that it's going to bring about a lot of working capital challenges to businesses, because we have promised by law to refund within 45 days. I can remember in one session, the 45 delay was calculated for exporters to translate to 2 billion rupees. What did we do? We engaged businesses. We had discussions on a monthly basis with them to share with them our journey. How are we going to do it? And why we are saying it is different now. The result? The first month of SVAT repeal, the new system was introduced where the businesses are required to pay VAT and the government is supposed to refund VAT back to the businesses. As we promised, first month, October 2025, the refund request 13.5 billion the government collected, of which 13 billion we were able to refund within 45 days as we agreed. But the beauty comes during the month of November. As we promised, we paid within 45 days. 45 days is a long period of time for businesses, particularly when it comes to working capital challenges. Month of November, Chamber, during a discussion with Chambers, Chamber representatives told us that their members have got the refund within 2 days. Within 2 months of implementation of a new system, we were able to reduce the time period from 45 days to 2 days. That is the journey that we have embarked. We have not stopped there, ladies and gentlemen. We are bringing digitization into the equation. Parallelly, we have started digitizing the entire process from submitting of manual documentation and reconciliation manually by IRD officials, where submission is digitally, reconciliation is automatic through the system, and our intention is to get back to 1-day refund or day zero refund if possible. As of now, we have succeeded. We are halfway. We are onboarding segment by segment or sector by sector in industries. Some of the members in the apparel industry are already with us in the system, live in the system. Some of the biggest and the best brands that Sri Lanka has taken to the world. Tea industry, we are onboarding them as we speak. So the phase 1 is for all SVAT registered businesses who are able to claim SVAT will be onboarded through digital system, based on which their VAT refunds will be processed by the system, targeting day zero or 1-day refund. The phase 2 is for VAT registered suppliers. Our intention is our original plan was to commence the process in Q2, second quarter of this year, from April onwards. Happy to announce we have already commenced that. We have engaged some of the largest retail chains in the country, working with them to onboard them into the system. So phase 2 is also just started as we speak. And the final phase is to connect all businesses, including through a POS mechanism where businesses who don't have connectivity, POS machines will be used. So the journey has begun. Why is this? As a nation, we can't increase our tax rates anymore. So then it's a question of broad-basing the base, increasing the efficiency in the system, inviting from the informal economy to the formal economy. Through this, we will be able to generate higher income, collect our revenue within a short period of time. What is going to be the outcome? I'm sure all of us know we are sitting on a mountain of debt of $100 billion. Based on the capital investments or capital expenditure, I would rather call it, that was made in the past without proper feasibility studies. Some of the research material that was showcased, highlighting the importance of following a particular path, a scientific approach to your activities. Similarly, capital expenditure in the past without following a proper approach, acceptable approach to the rest of the world when spending public money has resulted in wasteful assets that has been created. Assets during the year in which the capital expenditure is made, it shows there is activities happening. But subsequent years, it is not providing any returns to the economy, no dividends back into the economy. That is why the PFMA Act, Public Finance Management Act, requires a particular process to be followed, which was enacted in late 2024 under the present administration, requires capital expenditure to provide return back into the economy. Despite it was only 9 months since the budget was approved, 2025, nearly 75% of the capital expenditure were actually spent. That is, discounting the month of December, we were subjected to Ditwa. All these actions to showcase, to give you the confidence, the present administration and the government officials and the agencies with whom we are working with is determined to continue this journey to create stability. It is the journey of consistency, predictability in the economy that allows businesses to engage, businesses to invest, particularly foreign investors to come and relook at Sri Lanka. Investors who might have not taken the Sri Lankan approach seriously in the past. The dividends of this engagement is to be shared by all of us. Economy is not about numbers alone, as I always say. It is about the benefits of that economy. How is it translating to you as people, citizens of our country, businesses, and investors? The nation that we have created has brought back that stability in terms of political stability, economic stability, and social stability. The rating has improved since the time the present administration has implemented these reforms. The rates, the prices for borrowing has continuously come down. Inflation has stabilized, reserve position has improved, and as a result, people are able to enjoy some of the things that they were not able to enjoy in the past. Even though it was a difficult time, we were able to open up importation of motor vehicles into the country. Despite $2 billion outflow for motor vehicle importation, we were able to account for nearly $7 billion of reserves, our reserve position. It's a tough journey, particularly when it comes to the rebuilding efforts from Ditwa. This journey will continue. So the foundation that we have laid will allow the country and the nation to move forward, get the attention particularly from foreign investors, multilateral partners, to reshape this nation where new research, commercialization of research activities, and engaging high value-added products, diversification of our export basket, reaching out to new markets, journey has already begun. I'm sure some of you all are aware, we have filed an application for an additional free trade engagement with another zone. What does this mean? It has already the journey has already begun to integrate our nation to be much bigger, to allow it to reach out to its full potential. We won't be able to do it alone. It is the combination of efforts of businesses, citizens, academia, and all the well-wishers who are rallying behind us to continue this journey. So once again, perhaps we will take some more questions during the Q&A. But I want to wish all of you all the very best in the endeavors that you all have chosen and the success for the rest of the day in this event. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. And now we are moving on to the panel discussion of the Business Forum 2026. For that, let's introduce the panelists of this evening. Now, first we introduce Mr. Hasitha Premaratne, Managing Director of Brandis Lanka Private Limited. Mr. Premaratne leads strategy, transformation and long-range planning and serves as the Managing Director of Brandix India Apparel City, overseeing joint ventures and investments. And he also holds directorial roles in several subsidiaries, including TJ Lanka PLC, and has previously served as a non-executive director at the Bank of Ceylon, along with the board positions at the Sri Lanka Accounting and Auditing Standards Monitoring Board and CIMA Sri Lanka. He holds an MBA in International Finance and a BSc in Computer Science and is a fellow member of CIMA UK, ACCA UK and CMA Sri Lanka, as well as a Chartered Global Management Accountant, CGMA.
Next, ladies and gentlemen, we take the privilege of introducing and inviting Ms. Shyamali Wickramasinghe, Group Managing Director, CBL Group. Ms. Shyamali Wickramasinghe is the Group Managing Director of CBL Group, one of Sri Lanka's leading food conglomerates with a strong global footprint. Under her leadership, flagship brands such as Munchie, Ritzberry, Lanka Soy, Summer Portia, and Sarah, apologies if all that made you hungry, have strengthened their market presence locally and expanded exports to over 70 countries. Having joined Ceylon Biscuits Limited in 1991 as a food technologist, she has held multiple leadership roles before joining the board. She currently serves on several corporate boards and actively contributes to national industry development through chambers and advisory councils. She holds an MSc in food chemistry from Purdue University and a BSc in food science and industry from Kansas State University, USA.
And our next panelist of the day, Mr. Supun Veerasinghe. Mr. Supun Veerasinghe is the Executive Director and Group Chief Executive at Dialog Asiata plc, a position he holds since 2017. His career in telecommunications began with Dialog in 1999, where he progressed through various key roles, including the head of the strategy, CEO of the mobile business, and Group Chief Operating Officer. Mr. Veerasinghe serves as on the boards of Hemas Holding plc, the Ceylon Chamber of Commerce, and UNGC Network Sri Lanka. He is a fellow certified management accountant Sri Lanka, fellow member of the Chartered Institute of Management Accountants UK, and holds a Bachelor of Science in Accountancy and Financial Management from the University of Sri Jayewardenepura. Mr. Veerasinghe holds an MBA from the University of Western Sydney, Australia, and is an alumnus of the Harvard Business School. And also, we'd like to invite Honorable Dr. Harshana Surya Peruma, who was the anchor speaker for the day, as a panelist for our discussion. And now, let's introduce the moderators of the Business Forum 2026, who will thoughtfully steer the conversations and guide us through the evening's dialogue. It's with great honor that we introduce our first moderator of the evening, Professor Dushan Jayavikrama, the Dean of the Faculty of Management Studies and Commerce of University of Sri Jayewardenepura. As a scholar specializing in marketing, Professor Jayavikrama earned his PhD from Swinburne University of Technology, Australia. His research interests span several key areas, including social marketing, consumer vulnerability, subsistence markets, symbolic consumption, and corporate social responsibility. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Professor Dushan Jayavikrama.
Ladies and gentlemen, our next moderator for the day is none other than Dr. Asanga Ranasinghe. Dr. Asanga Ranasinghe is the Director of the Postgraduate Institute of Management, PIM, of the University of Sri Jayewardenepura, and the former chairman of the Sri Lanka Standards Institution. With over 30 years of experience across both industry and academia, he has held leadership roles in diverse sectors, including FMCG, petroleum, automobile, agriculture, and modern retail. Dr. Asanga Ranasinghe holds a doctorate in shopper marketing and has published in both local and international journals while continuing to contribute to professional development in management and strategy. Professor Dushan Jayavikrama and Dr. Asanga Ranasinghe, gentlemen, the floor is yours. We invite the moderators to accompany the panelists to the stage to kickstart the highlight of this evening.
Good evening. Distinguished guests, industry leaders, policymakers, academics, ladies and gentlemen. It's our privilege to welcome you to the Business Forum of the 22nd ICBM. I'm delighted to co-moderate this discussion alongside Dr. Asangarana Singha, the Director, PIM.
So thank you very much, Professor Dushan Jayavikrama. This evening's forum centers on timely and transformative theme of Sri Lanka's surge into circular economy. As Sri Lanka navigates its economic recovery and long-term development, the circular economy presents not merely an environmental agenda, but a strategic economic pathway which integrates sustainability, competitiveness, innovation, and resilience. Tonight's discussion aims to explore how policy, industry finance, investment, technology, and education can cover to accelerate this transformation.
During the keynote speech this evening, we got to know the economic landscape, macroeconomic indicators, how ready they are, for us to navigate in the direction of transforming Sri Lanka into a circular economy. The real question we now have is, within this backdrop, how can this vision of transforming Sri Lanka into a circular economy be practical? What practical strategies must industries, policymakers, institutions adopt to make circular transformation both scalable and economically viable?
So before we move on to the panel discussion, let me briefly outline the structure of this discussion so that we can ensure a focused, engaging, and a productive exchange of ideas happen. To begin, each panelist will share 5 minutes of his or her thoughts and the perspectives on advancing circular economy policies within their respective sectors. These opening remarks will allow us to understand sector-specific opportunities, challenges, and the strategic priorities. So following these initial insights, we will move into a moderated dialogue and an interactive Q&A session lasting approximately 15 minutes. Audience questions will be collected in real time via a QR code, enabling a dynamic, inclusive, and a participatory discussion. Finally, each panelist will be invited to offer 3 minutes of concluding reflections.
With that structure in place, let's dive into the conversation. Representing Sri Lanka's globally competitive apparel export industry, Mr. Premaratna brings exporters' perspective. Your contribution will focus on advancing circular manufacturing within the export-oriented value chain. So, Mr. Premaratna, to set the stage for our discussion, can you tell us how Sri Lankan apparel sector can adopt renewable energy, efficient production, and waste management, and what policy or investment support is needed to accelerate this transformation?
Good evening, everybody. First of all, thank you for having me here and to represent the apparel industry, which is in the middle of, I would say, a transformation and a reset, particularly after the US tariffs and the related dynamics that had a wave of tsunami, I would say, over the last 9 to 10 months, and still going through and riding the wave. So, of course, the industry, when you talk about the whole principles of sustainability, ESG, which contributes on the circular economy principles, that's nothing new to the industry because this has been something that has been happening for many years. Firstly, because global brands that we work with have certain mandated drive towards achieving certain outcomes in the manufacturing efficiencies, productivities, as well as what we discharge to the earth and the rest of the environment. So essentially, what that meant is that the industry is already given a push to begin. But from there, some of the larger organizations in particular have gone beyond that point to look at how to invest into multiple areas of aspects that circular economy requires. I'll take a few examples on what's happening right now. First of all, maybe about 10 years to 15 years ago, in our industry, one of the key challenges is the brand protection. If you're working for, say, a brand like Victoria's Secret or Calvin Klein, etc., they're very particular that their branded products are counted to the last piece and shipped out. They would not want to see that that's been sold somewhere else without their approval. So that's a big responsibility that we carry as vendors, as suppliers to these large brands. So historically, there have been year-on-year challenges where a lot of branded products, when they get into certain defects, either colors might be wrong or maybe the sizes are slightly different, right? So as a result of that, they go into what we call this waste definition. And then when it goes to the waste definition, most of them end up being incinerated, meaning burnt, right? Just imagine the amount of waste there. You're just using cotton converted to yarn, using so much of energy, etc., and then you convert that into fabric. Fabric turns into a garment, a sewing product, and then that's being burnt out. So a lot of challenges were there because principally you're not supposed to use it whether you like it or not. So two things are there, like I think Nuan very correctly said. First thing is about how to prevent the waste. That's a mindset change where when you have no tolerance or hardly a tolerance, because today with the price pressure that we are going through, we have no choice but to attack the waste even more aggressively. So with that, naturally, there comes a preventive measure. But also on the other side, there are certain other measures that we were able to convince our brands. For example, certain branded products, we debrand them. We take the branded elastics out, we take certain logos out, and then we might take the panels and look at even doing certain other products. For example, we did certain areas where we completely debranded, but got approval to make a kids undergarment and sold at a very small price to our associates. We have a large number of workforce who are in the lower side of the economy. So we sold to some of these at a very nominal price of like 100 rupees, 50 rupees type of a price. But it was done for the purpose mainly to avoid this wastage. And that was a special approval that was given. So similar type of concepts, thoughts are coming now to minimize what's being thrown out or destroyed on these branded products. So that's one example I wanted to share with you, that the game is changing, right? Second part of it is, obviously, I will talk a little bit later when you come to a latter part of a conversation, which is more about the renewable energy, where as an industry we have quite a bit of energy usage that happens. So solar being one of the top priorities. Today, as Brandix, if you look at, we produce almost equivalent amount of what we use in terms of our usage in the form of solar energy. Of course, the last couple of years with the growth, we have outpaced what we are generating. So we need to catch up. Of course, there are some challenges of approvals now to get in. And even what we generate to be used is also a bit of a challenge in that world. So we are exploring how we can use the battery technology, which is now being approved as a legal means. But of course, financially still it's not, I would say, viable enough for us to make big investments in that front. But we are considering that, right? But the final point I wanted to touch upon today is that this whole game of circularity, whole game of ESG, it has to be a culture. It has to be a mindset change. And it has to be us as well as all the people who embed that as a principle rather than somebody's trying to enforce that as a rule. That is where I think the education becomes very, very important. Because I remember when we started off these waste management exercises and concepts about 14, 15 years ago, people didn't understand. They were thinking that this company is getting stingy, right? They're saying, say, food waste. Simple example is food waste. So we brought a principle that in our canteens where we provide food to all our associates, so lunch is provided. So after lunch, so normally it's a buffet type of a concept, so you can serve what you want and go. And we found that a lot of food has been wasted. So we started to measure this and realized that there is no reduction happening. If you take the buffet concept out, there's another complaint saying that you're not giving enough food. So we said, okay, fine, we'll continue the buffet, but also whatever you are throwing or what you are left in the plate has to be put into bins in front of the table, in front of the place we are eating. So suddenly everybody is now looking at each other and feeling embarrassed to throw. And that brought a different behavior and a concept, and people started to serve. We said, you allow second serve. Remember, it's a buffet. You can serve even 3 times if you want, but please don't throw. And if you throw, everybody is looking at you, right, and seeing who is throwing most. And there were competitions in certain pockets of within the factory where who has the smallest amount of waste in the bin. And that worked, right? So these are little things, but we have to change the mindset, and those type of concepts need to be taken with a change of mindset and education. So I want to conclude by saying that all these concepts are good, right? But it's all about how we embrace them and make it our own thing to make it work as a principle. And that's why as a country, as an industry, and as Brandix, we have actually seen success or little success wherever we have tried to implement such things. Thank you.
So thank you very much, Hasid. Thank you so much. Some very valuable insights. It's clear that apparel sector holds a tremendous potential for the country and in terms of exports, but it's also a driver of sustainable industrial practices. So thank you very much again. So Shia, now it's you, and we worked very closely, and you built lovely brands, and we are very fond of these brands on a daily life. So from your perspective, which circular manufacturing practices have shown a measurable impact, and what policy support, industry collaboration, and supply chain alignment would be needed to scale them up, not only within your network, but across the country?
Thank you for having me here, and thank you, Asanka. So I think we don't have much mandated. We don't have much mandated, but I think it's important that we do see how we could incorporate circularity into a lot of what we do. The issue is, I believe we need a lot of education. You have a lot of larger companies addressing some of the issues, but the ecosystem that we have in FMCG, there are also a lot of SMEs that maybe don't have the knowledge or the wherewith to implement a lot of things. So I think starting very simply, like what Hasita said, is wastage. First thing is to control wastage, and that is something that is within the purview of all of us. And we spend a lot of energy in making sure we minimize wastage from every aspect in our manufacturing process. I think what is very apparent in FMCG to everyone is packaging. For certain things, you can do things a little bit easier than others. For example, for biscuits, as you know, if you leave a biscuit outside, it absorbs moisture very fast. So moisture barrier in packaging is very important, which then limits, honestly, the choices you have. Because I would say almost all the materials that give the kind of moisture barrier protection that we need in Sri Lanka with our high humidity are not really biodegradable. So this is a problem, but in products that it's not so essential. For our chocolates, for example, we have reduced 50% of the plastic with paper because the moisture barriers are not as critical for chocolate. So you got to design. A lot of this comes with the design of how we're going to have your product, the environment it's going to be stored in. We still don't have the optimum retail experiences for our products. So you have to take all this into account. It's, I think it's also very important from a policy point of view that when we are looking at taking things forward, and we must, that we do look at the environment and the ecosystem that it currently prevails, because you can't just implement things overnight. I mean, if you take manufacturing, we are also one of the largest producers of coconut milk. If you take coconut, I think historically also every part of the coconut, from the fruit to the tree to the leaf, is used. And in industry, actually, it's no different, because, and especially at an industrial scale, when we are collecting coconuts, every aspect of it is used, from the water to the shell, quite apart from the meat. So there are a lot of things that can be done better as well. If you look at agriculture practices, Sri Lanka has a lot of post-harvest waste. I mean, if you look at the supply chain, this is something I think a lot of attention is being given, but we've not really had, we've had some success, but not enough. But I mean, to give an example of what some of the work we've done in the field, we try and reduce the amount of chemical fertilizer we use. And in growing soya, for example, we have eliminated it 100% because soya can fix nitrogen naturally, which means that the residual product that you have when it goes into its next cycle, or whether it goes back into the soil as a part of the waste, it still has less harmful things. So I think in each step, we must see how we create this ecosystem for businesses to support a circular economy. It starts first with, I think, education and knowledge. If I take the supermarkets, we have always given a choice to not use single-use plastics. But I don't think even 5% of the customers coming in will bring their own bags. It doesn't take too much to plan your visit, but people just don't do it. So I think that self-awareness, even, paper, so much energy goes into making a sheet of paper. Use it, use both sides. Don't waste, don't print if you don't need to. So these kind of practices have to be conscious in everyday use. It's not just big words. It is using circularity in everything we do. And I think as individuals, there's a lot in our lives that we can change to do this. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Wickramasinghe, for sharing valuable insights. In your speech, it was clear that there are certain things that the company can attend to address, but we still need to work on certain things. And also you highlighted how different players within the supply chain can play their role, and also how mindful the consumer should be in order to have this outcome collaboratively achieved. I think that will bring us to the next panelist, Mr. Supun Weerasinghe. As the Executive Director and the Group CEO of Dialogue Asiata, would you please elaborate how digital innovation can drive circular economy practices in providing the backbone for circular economy?
Thank you, and firstly, thanks for having me. Huge congratulations to both the University of Sri Jayewardenepura and PIM for having this forum, being part of the student community 25 years ago. It's indeed great to see this kind of a forum organized by the two institutions of the university. Yeah, I think digital infrastructure plays a significant part of enabling circularity. But before I go into how it does, the circularity is integral to sustainability of the telco industry itself or the digital infrastructure itself. As Hasita mentioned, the circularity and sustainability is ingrained in our business model. If I start with the basic infrastructure, the towers that you see on the ground, every tower is shared with another party of one of our competitors, and every tower has a second tenant from a competitor. So there's a very strong sharing economy practice in the industry, and that has been there for the last 16, 17 years. And now it has been formalized by the government by encouraging independent tower companies. Then when we look at the transmission network, earlier we used to set up our own transmission backbones. I think the economic crisis pushed us to also relook at sharing on infrastructure on transmission. So now we at Dialog take about nearly 1,000 sites connectivity from Sri Lanka Telecom's fiber infrastructure. Again, avoiding that duplication. Then when it comes to energy consumption, we have set ourselves net neutrality by 2030, net zero by 2050. But I said to my team, 2030 and 2050 are too far away. Let's make sure that we don't grow our energy footprint. And to that end, we have been able to last year bring down the energy consumption by 18%. The economic crisis pushed us to look at industry consolidation. So the consolidation between our network with the Airtel network helped to bring it down. Then we also introduced solar, post-crisis, power crisis. We have added about 1,000 plus sites of solar, again, to improve the cost of energy, because energy is one, availability is critical, and the cost is a significant element of our P&L. So by introducing solar and then saving it on batteries, we have been able to bring down the energy cost. Then when we go down the value chain, be it our buy process of a customer, be it our bill process, pay process or serve process, all processes have circularity inbuilt and sustainability inbuilt, moving from, say, a physical SIM to a eSIM, physical recharge card to a recharge, recycling some of your TV boxes or routers. When it breaks down, we will refurbish and we will reissue at a lower price. Again, encouraging that reuse culture, because that helps to also reach out to a segment who cannot afford that full brand new kit and still get that warranty. So the industry has a very strong, sustainable, circular focus, both in terms of infrastructure, business practices, business model, and this is driven on clear measurements and focused improvements. And it's something that we have been practicing not just 1 year. I think for the last nearly 12 plus years, we have been practicing, auditing, and improving. So that is fundamental. Then looking into how it helps the larger economy. The foundation is, it helps measurements. You start measuring your energy usage, you start measuring your water usage, bring in things like Internet of Things, so that you can start improving your consumption, improving your energy usage. Then it also helps to bring stuff like digital twinning. You can create a twin of the same manufacturing plant or your warehouse, and then make sure that you drive productivity in the facility. So digital twinning is another concept that can be enabled through the digital infrastructure. Then I'll touch on the sharing economy that gets enabled. Your ride hailing that you will do with PickMe or Uber is enabled through that digital infrastructure. The Airbnb that you will have, where you will rent out excess space, again is enabled through digital infrastructure. So digital infrastructure enables these communities to share their excess resources and avoid duplication of resources. Then the other larger part is, how do we drive productivity of our economy? Making sure that our farmer is productive, our small and medium industry is productive. There, I think one example is our Go Me Through agriculture platform, where farmers can get agriculture advice by dialing a platform. We also recently introduced AI onto that. Through that, more than 1,000 farmers every day call and get crop advice using artificial intelligence in their own language. So digital has a significant capability to not only drive circularity, improve sustainability, but overall improve productivity of the economy, which is essential for the sustainable growth of our country. So with that, I'll conclude and I'll pass on to Dr. again. Thank you.
So thank you very much, Subun, for those valuable insights. It's clear digital innovation and strategic use, as Mr. Veerasinghe explained, can really play a transformative role in helping businesses adapt and adopt circular and sustainable practices. So we come back to you, Secretary, Dr. Harshana Surya Peruma, proud PIM alumni, and of course you shared a lot of insights and how the country is moving forward in terms of discipline and economic policy, and how the country is getting steered into economic recovery phase, and how the circular and sustainability-driven framework is helping in that. So the question we want to ask you, Secretary, is that how does the Ministry of Finance plan to embed circular economy principles into Sri Lanka's fiscal and macroeconomic framework, particularly within the context of IMF-supported reforms, so that fiscal consolidation, growth, investor confidence, environmental sustainability, and inclusive development are structurally aligned in the country's long-term economic strategy?
Thank you for that question. I suppose taking, or rather building up on the conversation that we have had earlier, the way how apparel industry has looked at it, the telecommunication giant seated next to me, even the FMCG sector, how it has performed and aligned themselves. So for the government and state mechanism, it is about creating that conducive environment that enables businesses to keep their eyes and ears close to the ground, understand the vibe, trends and patterns out there, and start engaging on those lines and start directing their businesses and ventures onto those areas. Whereas as the government, it is to keep that bird's eye view as to how the global economy or the trends in other countries and other areas that we need to be watchful of, and supporting our policies in that direction through policy support, direction, and technical and other facilitation. Let's take a few examples. In the 2026 budget, we have allocated nearly 95 billion rupees for SME support segment. Some of this funding is to encourage entrepreneurs, businesses to look at ways of adding value back into the economy through championing processes of the circular economy. It could be other innovative ideas where the ability of the economy to regenerate based on the concepts that were shown earlier through the presentations also. So the government policy making is to facilitate, encourage and invigorate those thought processes, allocate financing for research and training, and to provide the path where investors will come onto those areas. Incentives, it is an ideal way to do that one, but given the fiscal phase that we are currently in, it may not necessarily be not an easy task. But having said that, for a fabric park, we have provided an incentive arrangement where we are trying to see, instead of bringing raw material all the way, how we could produce it here. So likewise, government, through policy direction, is looking at options and avenues how we can facilitate the circular economy. But it is the businesses who will choose the path to drive depending on the opportunities that they have seen on those areas. It is the academia who will line up the students who are coming to learn as to what is those ideal paths and directions, how to think differently to align the country and to make sure we are not left behind in the global agenda when it comes to matters of this nature. So once again, it is the approach of the government to facilitate wherever possible. In the budget of 1,400 billion or 1.4 trillion, question is how much to be allocated for activities of this nature, competing needs, to make sure our recurrent expenditure is taken care of, and of which part is allocated to look after these interests of these areas. The government institutions that are dedicated to support policy and reforms into these areas through recurrent budget, but through the capital budget also to make adequate provisions to drive policy and to implementation of them, whether it is the infrastructure that we are looking at, whether it is the investments into the education side and other areas that we are looking at, how to align that one to these emerging trends. It is not the easiest things when there are competing needs such as debt sustainability, when the country don't have enough financing to repay our debt, etc., when our income is not adequate to meet our interest payments, etc., there are severe challenges, but yet keeping that policy priority to support engagements of this nature. So businesses will have hope and academia will have hope that there is a way forward. Despite challenges for the government for funding allocation, government is keeping reasonable amounts and allocations to champion these courses, to explore innovative ideas, new ideas. Perhaps Sri Lanka may be little behind in this equation compared to the rest of the world. How we can collaborate where the government engagements, mechanism or bilateral relationships to work with other partners who have gone ahead. So how can we forge relationships with those countries and help our industries, businesses and academia to thrive on those journey? How our capital market could be aligned to bring investments into these areas. The chairman for capital market is here with us today, and to see how through the policy support, it's not the easiest thing. One may think giving tax incentives or concessions will be an easier way to attract. But you mentioned about the IMF framework also as a country that we are in. So we have to balance interest to make sure we create sustainability, financial sustainability, and to ensure countries able to take this approach, the leapfrog approach. We are a nation left behind in many fronts. However, we don't have that luxury anymore. So government is to invest. Government is investing and will continue to invest in exploring these areas, providing the necessary impetus and support to academia and research also to continue these engagements. And as I said, it is the intention of the government by demonstrating through adequate allocation, engaging through bilateral engagements to bring the best knowledge that is available elsewhere, whether it is the minimization of wastage or whether it is technological advancements that we need to have. It is the approach of the government to continuously engage and facilitate. So we will not be left behind as a nation. Today, world is more closer than ever. Things that is happening elsewhere, Sri Lankans would know before it is being published in the news, because we are a connected nation. So our intention is to facilitate continuing those engagements, continue those connections, invest on those areas so our businesses can do better, our academia can do better, our entrepreneurs can continue to come into these areas and provide the best benefit to the country.
Thank you, Dr. Surya Peruma. It was very nice to see how positively the government has taken the initiatives of this nature and prepared to navigate with this agenda by providing the supportive policy and financial assistance. And to take this discussion further, we now open the floor for a Q&A session where we invite the audience to engage directly with our panelists.
So you will see a QR code displayed on the screen. Simply scan it with your mobile and you'll be able to submit your questions directly to us. So we will then look at the questions and channel the question to the right person in the panel so that there is a smooth discussion on this question. So please avoid overly lengthy submissions, multiple questions, so we can address as many questions as possible. So we look forward to hearing from you. Let's get started. So we'll go first. Professor, there is one question. You can see that. So please text your question, scan the QR code and text your question. So I think the question is to the Secretary, Professor Dushar. Can you explain how we are planning to achieve the 15 billion digital economy target by 2030?
Is the potential that we are expecting to realize. It is about what is before us and what do we need to do now to achieve this target. There are multiple angles of approaching the issue. One is to support the existing local businesses to reach out to start engaging and contributing towards it. Other one is creating a conducive environment and give adequate assistance for foreign direct investments to flow into Sri Lanka, into these areas. It is the combination of those efforts that will drive us towards achieving these ambitious targets that we have set. Let's take a few examples to see the reality of some of these numbers. If you look at the way the investment in the port city, we can see majority of investments as of now. There are two types. One sector is the primary development, other one is the secondary developments. So primary developers relating to the buildings and structures that are coming in the port city. The secondary is relating to particularly APIs, registered business entities who are engaging in various export-related activities, so to say. Most of these businesses, we can see the interest that we are getting is in the digital front. So this is one example how Sri Lanka is getting attention, how our structures are aligned to get the advantage of some of these global movements. We want to promote it, support it as an island nation for us to reach to the targets that we have set. That is in one angle. On another angle, we know there were opportunities relating to the BPO front in the past, but perhaps that trend is slightly moving away from us. So there's so much of opportunities for Sri Lankans, entrepreneurs, to innovate, create, and connect ourselves. Connect ourselves to the larger markets next to us. Echi, the president himself, was in India, perhaps returning today, with the AI convention, where the global giants are getting ready to take a leapfrog approach to move into the future. You can see Sri Lanka is in that equation. What does it mean? We are part of that journey. We are aligning ourselves to global giants, companies who have, countries who have thought about it, invested in it. Now it's going to take off. We are connecting to those countries, trying to piggyback on some of those opportunities. So the approach is multi-layered, supporting local businesses to engage, supporting foreign investors to come and engage in the digital front, supporting our entrepreneurs to engage, and at the same time working with the partners, other countries who have invested and who are reaping benefits to work with them, so we will be able to harness the digital economy. Thank you.
So, Professor, there's a question on the regional opportunity of the circular economy. I think that is very relevant to Ceylon Biscuits, having understood the whole expansion into other markets, where even recently I saw Shia in Indonesia expanding the business, and it's very proud for us to see Ceylon Biscuits going beyond Sri Lanka and building a global brand. Would you like to take on that question?
So, I'm going to limit this to the food industry. And again, I'll take the example of packaging. What I forgot to omit was, right now, while there's not much recycling happening in packaging, there are quite a few companies, ourselves included, who have partnered with the INSEE Life Cycle project to collect post-consumer waste, so it's converted to energy rather than going into a landfill. While it might not be the optimum way of circularity, it is at least it is creating something. I think while there is some degree of recycling happening, and there is a lot of this happening regionally also, some of our waste is collected, sorted, and, for example, sent to India. I think there is a lot more that can be done, and there's opportunities for SMEs to be created. And it also can be policy mandated sometimes that we use, for example, certain types of plastic. So if you take PET, for example, PET, it is widely recycled in many parts of the world. And I think in some parts, it's even mandated by policy that you use a certain percentage of it, because the technology is such now that you can recycle, say, a PET bottle to its original virgin state, post-consumer. So there are, I believe, a lot of entrepreneurial opportunities, and starting first with proper collection. It needs some intervention, maybe through government bodies and local authorities and things like that. But I remember meeting this young Indian entrepreneur who was collecting, I can't know if I get it right, but he was collecting bio-waste and converting it into energy. Fabulous project. So there are, it is about understanding the technology and looking at opportunity, because we have large landfills still, and there's a lot of opportunities for new businesses to take place.
There's a question from Mr. Hasita on leadership intent with regards to circular economy in your respective industry. Apparel industry, the question is about, there are two questions actually, about the leadership. How do you see the leadership role in apparel industry in terms of transforming organizational practices into circular economy practices? What is the role, and are there any gaps in the industry in terms of leadership?
Yeah, I think, like I said, the primary role of leadership here is to embrace and drive that change management, right? Because concepts are there, it's all over the world, it's available what and how to do, but it's more about how we are going to bring that into the organization strategy and then get the people's alignment to think differently and come out with the investments and the resources to support it. So I'll simply put in those three buckets. So on the first one, I think the strategy, building it into the strategy has now become almost in our industry given. It's inevitable because, like I said, with the price pressure and the industry's reset that we are going through, it's vital that our waste is brought to near zero. Right? Cost management, it becomes crucial, so duplication is not something that we can afford anymore. Once upon a time when the prices are better, things were different. But today it's not even possible to think about duplication. We need to attack that. So how are we going to sort of bring that into the strategy and come out with a plan with specific targets? Like Supun said, you can talk about 2030, 2040 for Higgs and all these standards, but when we look at the day in life, we need to look at the next quarter, next 2 quarters, and the next year and say that how are we having those short-term milestones to get there and drive a very powerful execution strategy. So that's the first part of it, right? The second part of it, like I said, how do you get that message across from top to bottom in the organization? So leaders has to embrace and then cascade it down, right down to the wire. And it has to become, in a way, easy to understand, and also sometimes, like I said before, something that creates a bit of a gamification, like a small competition of which bin has the lowest amount of food, right? So those type of simple things, simple concepts has to be brought in to take that right down to the organization and make the people understand the need to do this and for them to embrace. And third part of it is resourcing. So first, investing. I think that's where some of these concepts get challenged because paybacks can be a little longer. ROIs can be not as attractive as some of the other areas when you look at it at the outset. That is especially because we are looking at some of these things in the traditional lens. But if you look at it more proactively and more aggressively, I think the ROIs and paybacks can be brought in as well, particularly if you use technology, right? Today in the world of artificial intelligence, I mean, that's a very buzzword in everything that we do. But if you narrow it down to some specific areas where we can, as organizations, bring benefits, right? At the end of the day, if you don't have benefits, if you don't see progress, that's a problem. I'll share a simple example. Now, AI, when we brought in, it was first adopted in the IT department, right? Because probably those are the guys who are more closer to the area. So people were quite involved from the IT side to monitor cyber risk, right? What's going on email, phishing attacks and stuff like that. Various type of preventive measures, we adopted AI practices. But the next game really was, how do we take it to the mainstream? The IT is not our core business. Our core business is providing apparel solutions and creating those solutions to our customers, which is where we make the product, we design the product. So how do we bring it into the core? Now that's where we really see that the big savings will come, and opportunity to make significant changes are huge. But having said that, the challenge we have right now, to be very honest, is how do we really drive that into the change management and embed that as a part of the culture. So those are the areas where we will have to see, because we don't see that, like I said before, as a quick payback, but that's because probably we are seeing it in a traditional lens. But if you look at it more aggressively, looking at how these areas can dramatically change things, I think the reductions can come in big numbers and the paybacks can be much faster. So my personal experience is that the leadership role there is to ensure that we embrace on the strategy, alignment of the people, and then, of course, resourcing it adequately so that we can create that value from a shareholder perspective as well as from the people and the rest of the organization perspective.
Right, thank you. Although we keep receiving so many questions, with the interest of the time, I think we had to limit our discussion to one more question. This question keeps coming, I can see. I think Mr. Supun Weerasinghe can take this question. The question is, how are we making the digital transformation more inclusive so that this transition can go into the rural sector as well?
Yeah, I think it's very important that we make this digital adoption inclusive, and if not, we wouldn't get the results. So I gave this example of Goimituru. So that app is available on as a smartphone, but we saw in Nigeria, for example, people dial on a simple phone, because even today, maybe everyone in this room have smartphones. Nearly 40% of Sri Lankans still use 2G phones, 40%. So how do we bring them to digital transformation? How do we get them to adopt AI? So the Goimituru platform I mentioned, we created the same engine where you can dial 616, you can try, and then get agriculture assistance. You can just talk to the person and say what you need and ask questions. Then I think the GovPay platform, the government extended the government payments to digital platforms so that be it a traffic fine, be it the municipality rates, can be done through online banking or at your desk. Again, the 40% of the population who are on 2G will find it harder to get access to these digital services because they are not used to online banking or they don't have a smartphone. So what did we do? We brought the Easy Cash mobile money platform in between, and we have 55,000 retailers serving across the country, and these 40%, they go to these retailers today to pay their electricity bill. They go to the retailer to pay their water bill. And now they can also go to the retailer and pay their traffic fine or the municipality rates. So we need to find bridging mediums, access mediums, so that we don't leave them behind. We cannot tell everyone to adopt smartphones overnight. And we cannot also leave them behind. So say the distribution network that we have is a fine bridge to connect the communities who don't have access. Similarly, we need to translate some of these digital capabilities through the traditional simple telephone. And then lastly, taking connectivity to every part of the country is essential. Today, still we have about 5% of Sri Lankans who don't have access to connectivity. At Dialogue, we are on an aggressive plan to add about 800 sites within the next 3 years. We are investing about $250 million to connect every Sri Lankan to our network. I think the government is also recently has approved the next phase of Gamata Sannivedana village connectivity program, where government subsidize up to about 50% of the infrastructure cost so that we can reach these communities and provide connectivity in a sustainable manner. So I think there are a combination of initiatives, but from a thinking and policy point of view, the government as well as the industry is always looking at inclusivity and taking everyone along with them in this journey.
Thank you, Mr. Veer Singh. Thank you to the audience as well for forwarding your questions. I hope you will get to talk to the panelists during the dinner as well. Before we wrap up, I'd like to hear from each panelist, maybe for about 2 to 3 minutes. What's your key takeaway from this discussion? If the audience asks, what would your key message that you want to pass to the audience this evening from the discussion we had with all the panelists? What your key message would be? We'll start with you, Mr. Hasitan.
Yeah, so I think the concept of circularity today probably is spoken about, but over the years we've spoken about the same thing in different languages or different words. Probably English has changed, but it has been there, right? You take the 3 Ps, we call it at a time, and then it came to sustainability, ESG. Now I think the new word probably is a circular economy. But either way, all of these point out towards business is not about just profits. Business is about managing the stakeholder expectations and driving the expectations of the ecosystem into one goal, one objective. So essentially, in doing that, the concept of circular economy is very important. Like I said before, embedding into the strategy and then looking at how to resource it, looking at the latest technologies and also looking at the possible new thinking out of the box is something very important. And to conclude, I want to also say that being in the apparel industry, we are not competing in Sri Lanka, but we have to compete the rest of the world, whole world. Right? Tomorrow, if a Bangladesh factory is providing a price lower than us, chances are that the buyers will move the product, which means we'll have to ensure that as a company, we are competing with the world. So when you're looking at competing with the world, look at what's going on out there, benchmark against the best in the world, and bring the best technologies, best capabilities that are needed, and improve and drive our talent to the next level. I think that's what really we should do, because it's ultimately that talent which will take us, people which will take us to that journey of circular economy and the success that we are talking about as a country. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Veer Singh.
Yeah, I think I would say circularity and sustainability is existential. And I would add to that digital being foundational to circularity. And with digital, you will create all the data. You will have visibility and transparency. You will also be able to introduce newer technologies like AI. You can't talk of AI without digital. So it's important to adopt digital in all your business processes and systems, build that visibility and transparency, introduce technology. And circularity will make sure that you not only is competitive, you also get access to other markets. You will also improve your efficiency. I think while we talk about all this, it's also important to ask the question, what is in it for me? Are we individually responsible for this? For example, I have a KPI or target that is given by my board to reduce 10,000 kilotons of carbon this year. And that's the target that I will, if I don't deliver, I'll have a financial consequence personally, but also as a team we fail. So each one of us need to be personally accountable, not only just talk about it, but to walk the talk. And finally, it's about the future today. We have to deliver that future today through circularity, digital, and sustainably.
Thank you.
Thank you once again. It's about, for the governments, is to create a conducive environment so businesses will engage, youngsters will look up to innovate, to inspire. So our objective is to support and facilitate those the environment, invest adequately, provide facilities, build connections, have bilateral engagements, connect with other countries who have gone there already to make sure Sri Lanka is not left behind in this journey. We have missed in several occasions the opportunities that we have had as a nation. So one of the priorities of the government is to make sure this time we don't leave us behind as a nation, to keep an eye on the global developments, opportunities, and new areas, and connect our businesses, inspire our youngsters and researchers to get connected as early as possible. This is why the investment in the education sector, the facilitation, and to continuously engage in dialogue with whether it is academia, whether it is other countries who are leading in these spaces. We are in a world, in a context where some of the larger operators or countries pulling out from conventions. How to keep the momentum, being an island nation, to still be relevant to these conversations, how to inspire our businesses despite the challenges that they go through one after the other, to focus on this type of agendas. So that is the political leadership and the facilitation through the government mechanism. So our industries will continue to invest, innovate, and engage in these areas. Our youngsters will be inspired to be engaged in this type of conversations, looking into what others are doing, and being innovative and coming out with new solutions that we can go and commercialize at the end of the day. So once again, for the government, it is to create that conducive environment. These innovations, these concepts, novel ideas are embraced despite the challenging situation that we have as a nation.
So for me, something that's very close to my heart, and it's very painful as well, given that today Sri Lanka has a lot of malnutrition, something we didn't see for a very long time. And coupled with that, you see so much food waste happening in this country. So something that I personally get involved in, and even as a business, us being in the food space, is to see how we can better purpose wastage that is happening, be it post-harvest losses, transport losses. So these are systemic and logistical issues. But then there are also other things like, I see a lot of food wastage in supermarkets. That there are loads of... So I think each and every one of us, these are areas that maybe we can make some impact in a small way. Sometimes it's very hard to build a very large ecosystem, but all of us can build small ecosystems. So it's a thought I'd like to leave with everybody, that if we can repurpose food waste to give somebody who doesn't have adequate nutrition, I think we'll be doing a big thing. Thank you.
So thank you very much. Absolutely fantastic to all the panelists for sharing your final thoughts. It has been immensely valuable for all of us, bringing together a diverse set of perspectives on how Sri Lanka can position itself within the region and capitalize on the opportunities. The insights shared by our esteemed panelists have given us plenty to reflect, integrating circular practices within industries to leverage digital innovation, embedding sustainability, fiscal and economic policy, so many things to reflect. So we hope today's discussion will inspire further dialogue, collaboration between the academia and the industry, and somehow we will take this into action so that we can work together to translate these ideas into tangible outcomes for our country and our country's sustainable future.
In this evening, with that thought-provoking discussion we had, there were certain themes that emerged as we gathered. First, it was highlighted that it's a mindset change, and then it's leadership-driven mindset change, and it's digitally enabled approach, which has to be inclusive. And also, right policy frameworks are in place, although the country is at the pace of recovery from its economic crisis we recently had experienced. And also it was highlighted that it has to be a shared responsibility, and also we need to start this from managing waste, maybe at organizational level or maybe even at personal level. So while the industry partners and Dr. Surya Peruma highlighted the policy framework, industry panelists highlighted how prepared they are and engaged they are in the enterprise transformation with the circular economy development, as Dr. Nuwan highlighted with his opening remarks. Now the challenge for us, Dr. Asanga, and we need to give the academic leadership, institutional leadership, to transform the youth in this country. From your side, Postgraduate Institute of Management, while taking the leadership in transforming your learning partners, having these elements embedded into your curriculum, we are very happy to announce that we as Jayewardenepura Management faculty were the first faculty to introduce MSc program in waste management and circular economy, which has been predominantly a science-dominant discipline for a long period of time. We need to have this management and science blend in order to transform the country into a circular economy and having that economic perspective. So we are truly looking forward to not to be passive recipients of discussion. We are very much looking forward to be active participant in this discussion. So therefore, as our conference co-chairs requested at the beginning, we are looking forward to engage discussions, active participations with the industry in order to transform and make this transformation of Sri Lanka into a true circular economy a reality. Thank you, Dr. Asanga, for co-moderating this session with me. We'll hand over the mic to our compeers now. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
That was indeed a kaleidoscope of stories and insights from different industries on how circularity is practiced, and we are sure and hopeful that those stories, those insights would inspire many more success stories in circularity in your organizations as Sri Lanka surges into an era, a realm of circular economy. Ladies and gentlemen, let's give another big round of applause to our moderators and the panelists of this evening. As we draw close to the conclusion of this enlightening forum, we take a moment to extend our heartfelt gratitude to our distinguished panelists and our esteemed moderators. Each has contributed profoundly to the depth and breadth of today's discussion, and we would now like to present them with tokens of appreciation as a symbol of our humble gratitude. Devmini.
Yes, Thank you. So may I now cordially invite the Dean of the Faculty of Management Studies and Commerce and the Director of PIM to present the tokens of appreciation. To begin, I cordially invite Honorable Dr. Harshana Suryaperumal, the Secretary to Ministry of Finance, Planning and Economic Development, to receive the token of appreciation from our Honorable Dean and the Director of PIM.
Next, to present the token of appreciation, I invite Mr. Isuru Manawadu, the co-chair of ICBM 2026, and to graciously receive it, may I invite Ms. Shya Vikramasinghe, Group Managing Director of the CBL Group.
Thank you very much. And for the next presentation, I invite Ms. Sepali Bamunusinghe, the co-chair of ICBM 2026, to present the token of appreciation. And may I request Mr. Hasitha Premaratne, the Managing Director of Brandix Lanka Private Limited, to kindly step forward to receive it.
Next, I invite the co-chairs of the PIM Annual Research Conference 2026, Dr. Samantha Ratnayaka and Dr. Sakuntala Dure Ratnam from the Postgraduate Institute of Management, to present the tokens of appreciation, and to receive it, may I warmly invite Mr. Supun Veerasinghe, Executive Director and Group Chief Executive of Dialogue Asiata PLC.
With that, we bid farewell to our esteemed panelists. And now, ladies and gentlemen, as we conclude the Business Forum of the 22nd International Conference on Business Management 2026, I cordially invite Ms. Natasha Kaumudi, the Co-Secretary of ICBM 2026, to do the honors of delivering the vote of thanks, acknowledging the collective efforts that made this forum a resounding success.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. As we come to the close of this insightful business forum, and with it is the final event of ICBM Research Week 2026, it is my privilege to deliver the vote of thanks. First and foremost, we extend our sincere appreciation to the anchor speaker of this session, Honorable Dr. Harshana Surya Peruma, Secretary to the Ministry of Finance, for expertly guiding today's discussion. We also wish to respectfully acknowledge and thank Senior Professor Padmalalem Manage, Vice Chancellor of the University of Sri Jayewardenepura, for the leadership, encouragement, and continued support extended to ICBM 2026 and its initiatives. We then convey our heartfelt gratitude to our distinguished industry panelists, Ms. Shriya Wickramasinghe, Mr. Supunveera Singhe, Mr. Hasitha Premaratne, for generously sharing your time, expertise, and perspectives. We also extend our appreciation to Dr. Nuwan Gunaratne for the prologue delivered at today's forum. Your contributions have enriched today's forum and further strengthened the bridge between academia and industry. Our sincere thanks are also due to Professor Dushan Jayavikrama, Dean of the Faculty of Management Studies and Commerce, and Dr. Asanga Ranasinghe, Director of the Postgraduate Institute of Management, for their continued guidance and support in making this collaborative engagement possible. We would like to further mention the support extended by the co-chairs of PIMAG 2026, Dr. Samantha Ratnayaka and Dr. Sakuntala Dureratnam. We gratefully acknowledge the academics from the University of Sri Jayewardenepura and the Postgraduate Institute of Management for your participation and scholarly engagement. We also extend our appreciation to the academic and administrative staff whose dedication and teamwork ensured the smooth and successful conduct of this business forum and indeed the entire ICBM Research Week 2026. Finally, we thank all distinguished participants for being part of this meaningful dialogue. Your presence and engagement have made this session productive and impactful. As this is the closing day of ICBM Research Week 2026, we also take a moment to reflect on the meaningful engagements we experienced throughout this week. We began with the Undergraduate Research Day, which provided a valuable platform for our undergraduates to present their research. And then the week continued with the main conference, organized as 10 discipline-based mini-conferences, where diverse research streams were brought together through paper sessions and enriched with plenary discussions. We also held the PhD Colloquium, which supported doctoral researchers through constructive feedback, mentorship, and scholarly discussions. The HDR pitching competition added a dynamic dimension to ICBM 2026, allowing researchers to present and refine their ideas with clarity, impact, and confidence. In addition, PIMAC contributed to the conference spirit by extending research engagement and strengthening academic collaboration throughout its own scholarly platform. So with sincere appreciation to each and everyone who contributed, supported, and participated, we bring this business forum and the ICBM 2026 Research Week to a close. Thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, as we officially conclude the Business Forum of ICBM 2026, we thank each and every one of you for your valuable participation and for contributing to the richness of today's dialogue. These insights have not only enriched our understanding, but also inspired us to forge ahead with resilience and innovation. And as we are aware after this discussion, the way forward is circular, and the time indeed is now.
Yes, with that, we are officially concluding the 22nd International Conference on Business Management, ICBM 2026.
As we reflect on the insights and inspiration from today's forum, let us all stand together and honor our motherland to the national anthem.